Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do this. There you go. This is essentially a variable that's been made public, and that's been linked into a little script within this object, which allow us to connect these two together. So the first thing to note about this is it's not just a static mesh, it's a blueprint class. That's a couple of objects put inside another object. So let's create that container first. I'm just going to right click anywhere, go to blueprint class, and I'm going to use an actor kind. Give this a name, call this BC for blueprint class. Tut trunk. Double click on that, and that brings up this window here, which is empty. But what we can do, we can add different components in. So you can add lighting components in, for example, if you want to create a light with a light fitting, and just be able to put that onto walls rather than or ceilings, rather than dragging out the light and the static mesh individually. We can create different things within there, but what I'm going to do, just to make it a bit easier, is I'm going to drag and drop from my menu, my folder. I'm going to grab this lid and just move this up. It just needs to go back. There we go, I think. Okay. So within Maya, I'm just going to the rotation. I've set this so the pivot point's at the back of this trunk lid. But even though this was brought in as one mesh, this mesh wasn't combined, or the lid and the main trunk weren't combined. So Unreal still brings them in as separate objects. So every time we bring in the trunk base, we'd have to realign the lid to it. So just using the blueprint class for this, to be honest, is really useful. But we'll create a bit more functionality with this. So we need to be able to access this lid outside of this window. So the way we do this is through a construction script. Okay, so we need a couple of things. The first thing we need is we need to create a variable and make that public. So over here in my construction script, I'm going to click on the plus for next to this add a variable. Let's call this dot open lid, and I'm going to set this to be a float. I'm going to make this editable. Just bring this out a bit so you can see. And let's go down to the slider range. Basically, I'm going to make this rotate from 0 to 90 degrees. And I can also link in the value range. So this is the range that we see. This is the affected range. So from 0 degrees, in this case, to 90. Okay. That's made my variable public. We can switch that on and off with this little icon. And if I drag a version of my trunk in now, I'm going over that. We don't have anything, but that's because I haven't compiled it. So bring that back, just compile, save. And there we have this value there. Okay. So obviously that doesn't do anything right now, so we need to go back into our script. So what we need is something to recognize that we're changing that value, and that's going to do something within this, which in this instance is rotating the lid. So I need to get a reference of this lid. So over at the side are all my components. If I just drag this over, this is going to reference a lid object. Excuse me. And drag out from that, I'm going to do a set rel and look for set relative rotation on this. and I want to expose these individual values because I only want to change one of these rotation values. So I'm going to go into this, right click, and split struct pin. Then I can just get to, in my case, the Y rotation of the roll. That value is going to be changed by this here. So this is our public variable, remember, that we're exposing over here in our details. I can drag a version of that over, and we're going to do a get. Oops. And this is going to be my new value on this. Okay. Compile and save. That's still not going to do anything. We need to create something to trigger this off, some kind of link between this and this script. And we can do that using an event dispatcher. So in the event dispatcher, I'm going to create something called tut open trunk. And I'm going to drag a copy of that in and do a call on that. So when we move this, it's going to call this event. The construction script is going to keep checking that whether something's changed on our object in terms of the details, and then we can make this call this rotation script to trigger the rotation off. Compile and save that. And now when we do this, it goes inside the trunk. So we need to do one final thing on this. We just need to reverse this value. So I can do that by just right click and just type in float. I'm going to do a float times float. Drag this to the top value. I'm going to change this bottom value to -1. And then drag this into my value. Okay. What I can do on this as well is just grab this and just press C to comment this, and we could call it truck. Open trunk. Okay, compile it, save that. And now we have that working the way we want it. Okay, and it doesn't matter how many copies of this you bring in. You can all have them with different values. Okay. Now the other thing I did different with the safe is I added more values to this. So I've got the safe door, I've got the safe handle, and I've also got the safe lock up here, the dial. So I've got the dial rotation as well. And the only difference with that really in terms of the script is if I double click on this, I'm just triggering off these different events. So if I can drag that out. So I do the same thing, starting off with the construction script, calling an event dispatcher. That's doing a rotation on the safe door. Then I'm going to call it into another one. So from the output of this last rotation, to the input of a new event dispatcher. That's going to rotate in the lock. Out of there into another one. And let me comment this out. And call this safe handle. So that's calling a new event dispatcher, setting a rotation, and this time for the safe handle. Okay. But that's the only difference. So hopefully that's been useful. That's just creating a way to parameterize your objects as you bring them into Unreal.